Hey everyone, I am TheChosenOneLegend here, as always joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kai, also known as Fascurreyn.
And welcome back to the BunchaJokahs podcast, where we talk Nintendo news and other gaming highlights from the past month. I feel like sometimes I say Nintendo news and gaming highlights, sometimes I say gaming news and Nintendo highlights. There's no consistency. I've just suddenly realised that.
It's all the same, I've never noticed the difference.
I could really just copy and paste that intro in every single one, couldn't I? I really should do that at this point, save us a few seconds. Anyway, we're going to be talking about video games. How are you doing this week, Kai?
Yeah, not too bad, busy, but even though there's not a lot of gaming news, I've been going through a lot of different games, so, that's been good to see. The backlog's still there, but it's being worked on.
It always is, and it's being taking its time away with Tomodachi Life, because that's a time sink, but we'll get to that later. It's been a weird one, because Nintendo continue to just randomly announce things on Nintendo Today. Still no Direct, but I guess at this point, June 1 might still happen. Who knows?
It's looking likely that we'll have to wait till summer to get much of significance. Normally we get the big one in February and a lot of stuff leading out of that, but that's not massively been a thing either, so it's just a weird dry spot. But we know that there are games coming out, a lot of them very soon. There's just not new announcements to come after these upcoming ones.
And with the stuff they have announced, it takes us all the way to July, so that would line up pretty well for a June Direct to come in and give us the layout for what's after that point. But let's just get started on that with the first segment of the podcast. Can't have a podcast without news, baby, where we go over the news highlights. And the first Nintendo Today Shadow Drop was indeed Rhythm Heaven Groove getting a release date of July 2nd. Not a trailer, mind you, just a release date. Which is so weird. We haven't seen anything from this game in a year, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's coming soon, but we're still not going to show you any more of it.
It's a weird one. I mean, those developers are always very strange working on those games, and it kind of doesn't surprise me that they've done something that weirds us out. I would like to see some gameplay, beyond what they already showed a year ago. But, it's Rhythm Heaven, you basically know what you're going to get, I suppose.
They did show, 30 seconds of, a mini-game as a clip. That's all we got, of someone, cooking vegetables. It looked fun, looked like your standard thing. But the one thing that I guess that's worth noting with that is that it's one we saw in the original reveal trailer. Except in the reveal trailer, it had a bit more of, a artistic, a new art style to it, whereas the one they showed here is, straight up just your Rhythm Heaven design, the classic look. So some people have wondered if maybe they were going to change the art style but pivoted back, or maybe this is just one of them's from the remix stages that are sometimes different. But I guess that's one thing that's possible, but even then that doesn't tell us much. I'm glad it's sticking with the classic style at least, because I think it's iconic, But without seeing more than one mini-game, there's not really much more we can speculate there.
No, I'd like to pick this one up when it comes out, but seeing more would be very good. I
guess, at the very least, it's kind of a game, you know what you're getting with it. You don't really need to see much more than it's Rhythm Heaven, do you? At least for the fans.
No, exactly.
We know it's also £35 or £40. It's a cheaper game, which is nice. That they're sticking to what they said about they'll place games on a basis by basis thing where not every game's going to be £70 or whatever. So it's good to see that sticking at least. But either way, we're probably both going to be picking this up come July, I'd imagine. So
Very true.
We'll have to see then. Next up, we'll go with the next thing that they announced for July on Nintendo Today. Another game that we hadn't seen in a year for some reason, Splatoon Raiders. We got our first proper reveal of this game, I would say. It also coming out July on the 23rd in this case. They confirmed it's a single player experience. And despite that, I'm struggling to get a read on this game from the trailer. I don't know about you, Kai, but I've yet to sort of realise what is this game about.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it seems like they basically had an idea for a Splatoon single player and was like, This is too big to be part of the main Splatoon game. It's too big of an idea, and probably they thought, like, why don't we just make it a new game? Because, like, new sales, rejuvenation, etc., rather than trying to cling it to an old game that's been out for a couple of years at this point. So I kind of get why from that perspective, but yeah, it's like, what exactly is this game going to be? The multiplayer is what pretty much makes Splatoon. The story is a side mode. And this seems to have a lot to it, to be fair. They seem to have, like, you know, your upgrade features. They seem to be deriving a lot from Salmon Run. It seems to be like not an open world necessarily, but, you know, you do have this world to explore that isn't 100% linear. But it still does beg the question, is this a full game? And is it going to be full price as well? Like, you have to wonder, and the thing I likened it to was...
They have announced the price. It's like £45 or £40 or something, depending on digital, physical. So it's a little cheaper, but it's not as cheap as Rhythm Heaven.
Interesting. That's probably like a 40-hour game, maybe. Yeah, like, I likened it to Mario Tennis in a way where, like, they release a lot of Mario Tennis games, and they always have, like, one new thing in them. But outside of that, it's just Mario Tennis. At the end of the day, like, and sometimes you might look at a Mario Tennis game and be like, why is this not in a sports mix? It's just tennis. I think it's sort of a valid question to ask. And obviously, this isn't the exact same thing as that, but you look at the amount of content and go, should this be part of something or should it be its own thing? Can't really tell. It's tough to say as of right now. Yeah,
because ultimately, like, a single-player Splatoon game really should be exactly what I want. I'm not really much of an online gamer, so when I played Splatoon 3, I did the story mode and I did the online for, like, you know, 2 hours, and was like, I can't be bothered to do more. So, like, this, a fully single-player version of this, because I like the core gameplay, it feels like it's perfect. But seeing it's just hard to get excited for it, because, like you say, it's like, is this just a single-player campaign from the game, but on its own? Like, I feel like if you're going to make it its own game, even if it's cheaper, you need to give it more of some sort of hook, some sort of unique gimmick that it does in single player, that it doesn't, that justifies it not just being a campaign for the next game. And maybe it does, but we've yet to really see what the gameplay loop is on this. We know that you can do online local multiplayer, like co-op with friends, which is a good selling point. I feel like that's something, even maybe YouTube content, or even just for fun with a bunch of us, that there's definitely potential for that to grab my interest. But is the game just doing level-based structure as it would be just a single-player campaign, or is there something more to it? It still feels very vague from what we saw in the trailer, but I hope it's good.
I think that basically is it. Like, we want it to be good, but we just don't know yet. Like I say, it derives a lot from Salmon Run as well as single player, and it's almost like parts of it remind me of like a zombies mode or whatever in a game, because that's what Salmon Run's meant to be. But it's like, how do they flesh that out into a full game? That's the real key, because the single player in Splatoon is good. Salmon Run is really fun. How are they going to make it a full game, especially when it's single player or small multiplayer only, not on proper online?
I feel like they to make it more of like a single player experience, you need to do things like really increase the traversal methods or something, make it a bit more of a adventure game in some way. Like, there's things you could do to make it unique, and maybe they are doing those, but time will tell, because again, that first trailer was pretty vague on the details. But hey, it's cool to see, like, Shiver Fry, Big Man all there as well. That's neat. So
that's what makes me think it might have been part of like if that was what they wanted to do for Splatoon 3 and the development cycle was too slow, and they were like, we're going to make it a new game, because why is it only the ones from Splatoon 3? Just because they're the newest mascots? I don't know. It's weird.
It does certainly feel like this was a DLC that's been expanded into its own thing, but maybe we'll find out one day. That's actually it for the Nintendo Today drops, though. Next up, we have a level 5 presentation again. So, as always, this is a mixed bag. I guess before we get to sort of the big one, there are some sort of smaller bits they tease throughout. I'll touch on Inazuma 11. It's getting a physical Switch 2 edition. That's cool, I guess. And they showed like 5 seconds of the remake of the first game, which still looks...
Yeah, it's not looking great.
No, the art style choice does not suit it at all. It's just like I feel like either you need to stick to the sprites or remake it fully in like the style of Victory Road or something. But it's the Diamond and Pearl syndrome, isn't it? It's that.
It's that, and it's even the gameplay's not going to be the same. I can't remember exactly how they said they're doing it, but it's very like hands off. You don't actually play the game; it plays itself. And it's like, you're making this seem like a mobile game.
Yeah.
I'm raising
Speaking
an
of
eyebrow,
which,
I know. Yeah,
there
I know
was a
like
mobile game.
There was also a mobile game, that's very true, yes.
So, of course there was. It kind of looked like they were just doing bits of like Chronicle mode from Victory Road on mobile, which I guess makes sense, but
There have been Inazuma 11 mobile games before, especially there have been ones that have been cancelled that are quite big, and there are some that have come out that have been fairly popular in Japan, but they're all just like level 5 trying to get on the mobile game hype train way too late. And none of them were necessarily all that interesting, admittedly. So it's a tough one, to be honest. I think this is just going to be a gacha.
Yeah, it does seem that way. It's like, again, we were saying with like the whole system of trying to get your characters in Victory Road about at least you're not paying real money for this. Well, there you go. There's your version of that. I guess, were there any other small things you want to touch on before we get to Layton, or...
I guess I'll mention. I'll need to check this. I think GTA 6 got delayed again, or something. I thought I saw that. I might be wrong. I can't remember.
Did it?
I don't know. I might have seen something wrong.
It's possible.
I might have just seen misinformation. You can never tell.
Honestly,
no, it says
it
November 19th. Still, I thought I saw something that said it was delayed. Maybe not. No, well, never mind then. I guess not.
No worries. Well, Layton was what they ended on in this direct, and no release date because speaking of things getting delayed, I guess. It's still just a vague this year. It's not coming out this year, is it? It's not going to happen.
I would be very surprised. I'd be very, very surprised.
Yeah, what we see looks decent enough. It's hard to get the grips with exactly what, without playing yourself. Of course, being a puzzle game and that, you can't really show those off in any proper way without playing the puzzles yourself. But I feel like I still like what I'm seeing. It's just, can we trust level 5 in their current state to make the game competent? And
yeah.
And the faith is not fully there yet.
I think we are heavily influenced by the recent Inazuma 11 experiences, which we'll touch on, and also just the fact that, again, as much as I do very much adore Level 5, they have made countless questionable decisions in the last, 10 years. They had a real, peak period around 2012-ish, where they had all of the Inazuma 11 games are coming out, all of the Layton games are coming out, all within a really short period, relatively. The Yokai Watch games are coming out, and they were massively popular, which is what they started to pivot into. And then they just started going down this trail of mobile games, gachas, blockchain with Ni no Kuni, Jesus,
And now
they
AI.
They started a bit of a and now AI. They're kind of they've had a bad history of chasing hype that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
However, I'm not going to shut this game out yet because there is a lot there that I do still like. The number one thing that I'm putting my faith in is that they have Quizknock doing the puzzles. Now, the original series had, I forget his name, but they had one main guy at level 5 who was the lead of a team that made all the puzzles, that made them so iconic. He passed away like 10 years ago now, I think. And people were like, okay, no more Layton games because he's gone. So obviously they're not going to be the same as that, but QuizKnock are like well-renowned puzzle makers. They know the vibe. So I'm even though Catriel's wasn't that great of a game, I do have faith that this will bring it back a bit because QuizKnock are good at what they do. So that side is good. It's mainly just the other elements. Are they going to hold up? The story, namely, as well as just the general world and gameplay experience.
Exactly. They showed off some like characters, and the cast looked interesting. It looked like your standard sort of Layton affair of oddballs, vaguely shaped people, of course. Still yet to see if English cast or like an announcement on that, because that will be important for, especially I feel like, wanting that original Layton cast back. I'm kind of nervous at this point they're not going to give it an English dub. But then again, they were late when it came to Inazuma 11 about announcing the English dub, weren't they? So
that's true.
Then again, we saw how that English dub turned out. So
exactly, yeah. It's questionable. So I do have to worry in terms of the dubbing. For whatever team they've brought in for cheap. Quite frankly.
Yeah. I'm also just not 100% sold on the visual style, particularly of like the characters. I think it looks like an improvement from when we first saw it. Layton's always had a bit of a rough 3D transition. I'm not 100% on how they've made these new character models, but it looks passable enough. I feel like it does its job, and I feel like the towns and the backgrounds look. I think they look decent from what we saw.
Yeah, I mean the 2D style they had really is undefeated. It works so well. But I personally I don't mind this art style too much. I guess my standards are relatively low, I say, but I don't mind it so much. I'm very curious to see, like, again, is the story going to be good? This gunman, like, is it going to be classic Layton? Probably. Will it be better than the other games? I don't think so. I'm getting very, very strong Spectre's Call vibes from this one, the fourth game in the series, which
I can see that.
To me was the least interesting, but I don't think it was a bad game by any means. It was just that the others did bigger things. So I think it's going to fall somewhere around that game's level. So I do have one major gripe though, and I'm just trying to find it. I'm scrolling through the trailer. Okay, I think I've got it here. There's I think one word to sum this up. Hang on, I'm just letting the trailer play. I'm finding it. I have it here. That's the word, egg muffin. Why did they call the main... Like, here's a key character. He's going to be, like, one of the main new characters in this game. And they called him Egg Muffin.
Yeah.
What is wrong with them? That is the Again, I can overlook the graphics. I can overlook possibly even the dubbing, the puzzle. I can overlook everything except that. That's the one thing where I'm like, okay, this is where I draw the line, and I suddenly lost a little bit of hope. Egg Muffin.
I mean... Layton's known for like its quirky, weird characters, but I feel like there is a line, and Egg Muffin does somewhat cross that. So
it's just like everyone else has a normal name. You've got like Elida Allenston, and it's like, yeah, that's a normal name. Everyone else has normal-ish names, Bolt Allenston, Sheriff Bobsley. It's like, yeah, that works. And then you've got Egg Muffin, and it's like, there better be a damn good in-game story reason to why somebody is called Egg Muffin, especially a main character, when everyone else is normal. There's also this guy called Falcon that just seems to be like a bird, a talking bird. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
Personally. I guess we'll see.
Cautiously optimistic. It's going to be one where I'm think I'm probably going to see reviews on it and see how they pan out. But I do want to get this because I do enjoy the Layton series quite a bit. So I hope it's good. I really do, and I hope it comes out. But again, this year is they said like they're closing in, but the fact they didn't even give a release window, they didn't even mention the date. Like, that's not promising. And given their track record. And one good thing I will say, the music was popping off in the trailer. At least they've nailed that at least. And again, coming off in Inazuma 11, that's one thing they can do at least.
Yeah, exactly. The music's always going to be good, so I'm looking forward to some really like swanky puzzle themes and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And the moment the remix of the main theme came in there, I was like, okay, this is the good stuff. That gave me like the nostalgic feeling I hope this game is able to give me. Because, I've been playing Layton games since I was like a kid, it goes back a while, there's a very unique feeling that no other series has captured with Layton. So I really hope they capture it here, but we'll see.
Same. Yeah, I've played all of them except for Azran Legacy, actually, just because I've never got around to buying it. But yeah, I remember playing the first one. I was so young, and quite frankly, I was so bad at Curious Village when I played it for the first time.
Same.
God, I must have been like 8 years old or younger, maybe. It was tough, and I have a very distinct memory of being jump scared when you actually get to the tower near the end of the game and fall down the pit. As well as like some of the stuff in night in the middle of the game. Like, God, that stuff terrified me.
I mean, when they find like the butler and like the being carried in the bag, that.
Yes, that gave me nightmares.
I think I genuinely dropped the game there my first time, and then didn't come back to it till like a year later.
Yes. No, that honestly gave me nightmares. Like, it really did. I can see it so clearly in my head. And you know what does it more than anything else? They play a sound effect when that scene comes up.
Yes.
And it's that sound effect, whenever that comes up, like, it was... You know when you hear, like, your morning alarm in the middle of the day and it, like, makes you shudder? It's like that, but worse. Way worse. God. Anyway, God. Yeah. If they bring back that sound effect,
Exactly, that's it though. Like, it's like Layton games, like they've got this like silly goofiness to them, but they've also got an edge, like an eeriness there, and we've yet to see if that's going to translate. And I feel like they kind of lost that a bit with I feel like the original trilogy had that the best down. So it would be nice to see, but we'll keep an eye out, obviously.
Unsettle me, keep me engaged.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that stuff would still unsettle me as an adult, not just as a kid. So keep at it. But I guess we're nearly at the end now. I just want to of the first segment. I just want to quickly mention that Final Fantasy XIV is coming to the Switch too. Like, we kind of have to mention this. That is huge Nintendo news. Like, especially in Japan. A bunch of people are going to be like losing their jobs now and their lives, and just been stuck into this game.
It is a hefty game. Yeah, it's going to be portable now. Oh dear, like, I can only imagine. I mean, it's a big game, so I'm kind of surprised that they managed it on even the Switch 2 now. But that's a testament, I guess, that it can run stuff like this now.
It is. I mean, this is really major news, but we just got like a demo for Rebirth on the Switch 2 just dropped. And I checked it out just out of curiosity. It's like, it's compromised, of course, but it runs surprisingly well considering the scope of Rebirth, like, playing it in portable is mad. So this has that same sort of effect where, hey, I mean, I still have no intention to try it because I already... Tomodachi Life is already absorbing my free time. I don't need more of that. But if I were to try it, like, Switch 2 would be a place to do it, So, it's good news, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now let's move on to our next segment and final segment of the podcast, Games Time Baby, where we talk about the games that we have been playing. And continuing from that last train of thought, I might as well start things off with Tomodachi Life. I have not been absorbed into a game this much since Animal Crossing, and that's not it's both a good thing and a bad thing, I'm having to stop myself from binging it because, man, it's addictive. And the thing is, like, really, there's not that much to it, it's a bunch of recycled conversations. That's mostly it. Most of the ones you get are, like, repeats. They're only slightly different because a different keyword is brought up, There's enough new stuff. I am still encountering the odd new style and new dream sequence or whatever, but it is mostly the same stuff happening. But because you can put your creativity into it and choose a weird assortment of me's and a bunch of cursed catchphrases and create your own personalized items to give them, like, now the restaurant just has a giant Toby Carvery sign outside it because I thought that would be funny. Why not? And now I have random me saying like, would you like to have a chat about the Toby Carvery? And it's that never gets old. It's the game is what you make of it, and there are so many ways for you to just input your own weird stuff that just makes it so charming. Like they didn't need to do much with it other than that, and the fact that they've labeled, there's no filters on it, whatever, just do what you want. I'm having a blast. And I know you've only just started, Kai, but like I'm sure you can already see the potential.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I played the original so much. I mentioned it before, but I used to play it on sometimes while doing the podcast. Just as a casual thing, because it's about that good amount of time. And it was just a fun game to put everyone on and see what happens. And obviously the concert stuff was a highlight, but outside of that, you did end up not having a whole lot to do. Like, everyone just wanted new clothes or food, and there wasn't, there was a limit to how unique interactions could be. It felt very samey after a while. I've only played pretty much 2 hours of this new one, and you can already see the difference. The game looks vibrant. You can add a whole variety of things into the game to keep it going. They've really upped the customization, which again, when you make the game, they need to give you customization options, and that's what they do here. So they've really strengthened that part of it. So overall, it's just so polished looking. And I'm really curious to see what unique interactions the game's hiding that I haven't seen yet, because I'm sure there's a lot of them. So it's a really good sign, especially when I've been hearing stories of how long people have spent playing the game already. It's a very good and clear, idea that this is good.
Yeah, I'm at 25 odd hours, it's and still going. I'm trying to pace myself and make a me a day, but obviously I'm doing a roulette of different fictional characters and IRL friends and all sorts. So it's just made this horrific abomination. Some people will try and do it straight and have it okay, I'm gonna add Noah and Mio to the island and make sure they get married or whatever. I'm just no, you know what? If Zeke von Genbu from Xenoblade wants to marry Rem from ReZero, why not?
Has that happened on your island?
It's in the verge of happening.
Okay.
He has a crush at the moment, but the thing is, sometimes you put these things together and they want to have a chat, and you find, I like that you can just find weird ways. Again, it's all what you make of it to make these characters connect and things they would relate over. So I whenever I want to have a conversation about, I try to think of a thing that's fitting for both of them, and you kind of end up getting these weird combinations that you think, hang on a minute, this actually kind of works when you think about it. So just seeing the chaos, but actually kind of having to try and run with the chaos and almost build something off it that you feel works. It's very enjoyable, and heck, if for people who are into it, there's even more customization for those who are better than me. The layout of your island is very movable, and you can adjust that a lot. The most I'm doing, I'm thinking I'm going to make a little concrete section, and then have a panel on it that's just the cheese from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I'm going to make the cheese touch. You know what? Because you can, and that's easy to draw for someone with my skill level. Yeah. But I kind of I'd seen some complaints, and even from myself, hesitation before about the fact that they have nerfed from Miitopia some of the customization options, and some of especially the option to share your creations, right, and post them and take other people's. And whilst in a way that is a shame, I honestly think that was the right decision, because it's been such a joy now. Rather than if I want to make, again, Rem from ReZero, I don't just have to look up her, find someone's me that looks identical and add it. Now I have to think, how am I going to try and make her with the tools and my skill level? And it means everyone's making these characters, but they're all making them in very different ways. And it's like seeing, fan artists each draw a character, and you see that everyone draws them with their own style in a slightly different way, and includes different elements of their personality. And you're getting that with the Miis, seeing how everyone has different approaches on these characters. And I think it's really emblazoned like the social media aspect of it, of people sharing their own ones, and of course that's sort of partly why this game is doing well. I think is it has this social media presence. It's gone viral with people's like weird memes and poorly placed conversations that end up hilarious and whatnot.
I have seen some of them, yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely cursed, but it's also, again, it's hilarious when the right thing comes up at the right time. So I genuinely think that they made the right decision on that in forcing you to get more creative. And I think as a player, it makes you have a more fun experience than you would just adding a bunch of memes you found online, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's cool to add all of yours in and see what happens. I mean, it kind of reminds me in a sense of like, on stream not too long ago, I did the Hunger Games simulator again, right? And that's a thing everyone loves to do every once in a while. It's kind of, okay, throw all these characters in, they don't even have to be related in any way, and just see what happens. And this is kind of that, but the full game, where it's like, yeah, just throw in whoever you want from wherever. They can all be from the same place. They can all be from different places. But you just throw them all in and let the game randomizer do its thing. And I think that's the real charm of it, is like,
yeah,
you just get to observe these things happening, and like the randomness of it makes you enjoy it even more. So, yeah, I'm glad that they made it, because there was a long period of time where people thought it wasn't going to come back, especially since before Miitopia they had kind of dropped Miis for a while. So I'm glad that they've leaned back into it, realising, no, everyone loves Miis, don't get rid of them, please.
Yeah, for sure. It has so much weird personality. And like, I never played the 3DS one. This is my first time actually getting to play a Tomodachi Life, and yeah, they've nailed it. Like, I do hope the game, it'd be nice to see if it got like updates in the future. I feel like there's sort of been almost soft confirmed that there's going to be seasonal updates of like items for your plaza or whatever. You know, like at the moment there's cherry blossoms because it's cherry blossom season, for example. I'd imagine, come Christmas, you'll get like a Christmas tree or whatever and stuff like that. But I would like to see them update it with more interactions, more personalities you can give your Miis, and more food items and whatever. Not that there's not enough, but I feel like you could give this game a very long life if you're smart with the updates.
Yeah, especially more like mini games and interactive things, because I know the game's not about that, but after a while, that's what keeps people involved. It's the lack of multiplayer on Animal Crossing, like the lack of good multiplayer, I should say. That is partly what doesn't give me the most faith that they will nail that, given how Animal Crossing went. But
they did update it like randomly years later or whatever. But still, I feel like even if they don't update it, like what they've got here is enough. Because again, this is unlike Animal Crossing. This is a game where you make the game yourself, and in terms of that aspect, the creativity is boundless. So I'm intending to be playing it for a long time more down the line, even if it's just in bursts. Like, it's portable, it's the perfect game for that. So buckle up, Kai, I know you're just about to get started, so
yes, indeed. Yeah, looking forward to it. By the time this video comes out, I'll probably have a ton of Miis and like random interactions happening myself.
Yeah. You've been causing chaos on my island, Kai. My me of you, like it's.
Of course.
I've given him this swagger, and just any time I move over and see him swaggering around the island, it just gives me a laugh instantly. So
that's what I do. Yeah, what can I say?
Nailed the personality on 100% there. Real true to life. But yeah, that's Tomodachi Life anyway. What about you, Kai?
I've kind of got, I think, 3 games, but 2 of them are fairly short, so I'll cover them both in one.
Sure thing.
The first game I want to mention quickly is Baldurs Gate 3, because I've been playing through that for the last month.
Yes.
I don't want to give a proper review until I reach the end of Act 1, because that's kind of like my checkpoint to see if I want to carry on or move on to another game for a while and come back to it. So I won't give too many thoughts, but I'll say I had a bit of a rough start with it. I think the start can be kind of tough, just because I wasn't sure what to expect. I obviously knew not to liken this to D&D perfectly, because I knew, it's not D&D, it's just similar to it. So I knew that going into it, but I still wasn't sure on the vibes of the game. I didn't understand a lot of stuff early on because it just threw a bunch of random information at you. I think that some stuff, the game is very harsh. Like, you can accidentally do something or like fail a check that you didn't know existed, and everyone wants to kill you, and you've ruined your run. And like I said, the game's very unforgiving. So I struggled at first, and I was like, I don't get it. But I've been playing more now. I'm like 30 hours in. I just finished up the Goblin camp.
Right.
So I've just finished that part, but I still have a little bit more of Act 1 to go. I'm level 5 because I've been doing like a ton of the side content up to this point. And I'll say I've been having a good time with it now. Now that like I know how to approach the game, it's very different. I've gone into it now where it's like, hey, I'm not save scumming, but it's like I'm saving incredibly often, and if something happens that I feel was completely out of my control and has probably ruined the run, I don't hesitate to just reset. And I'm not resetting to get the absolute perfect run or anything, but it's like, if things happen that I'm like, hey, that's completely out of my control. Say, for example, in a lot of cases, like, I got really upset early on because the game has a lot of invisible traps everywhere for some reason. Like, landmines and stuff are absolutely everywhere. And I was like, this just, it kind of sucks just to have everyone in your party fail a perception check, and then everyone loses all of their health after you've just long rested. And I was like, that's not really fun. There was nothing in my control to do that. It's of course how D&D goes, but like sometimes being in the whims of a dice roll that is 100% out of your control because of the game's, it's a game, there's limited ways to approach things. I was like, man, that's not fun. But now I'm like, no, if a party member runs into a mine that they saw and knew was there and they ran into it anyway, I'm going to reset. Because I couldn't have really controlled, that. And like I say, I'm not going for the perfect run, but just making sure that I don't ruin things and I have a normal run has made it way more enjoyable. I've managed to get some really, really cool things out of it. I liked doing the hag area that I don't think you've done, have you?
No, I mean, so I don't think I've even talked about it on the podcast yet, because I was similar to you. I was sort of waiting to finish Act 1, and then I still haven't done that. But my experience has been nearly identical to yours. I started rough. I couldn't really get into it. I started to get more of a grips of it. I've beaten the Goblin Camp. I'm about the same point, and it's starting to click. I still don't love it, but it's clicked with me where I get it, and I would like to go back to it at some point.
Yeah, so it's like I'm starting to understand it. I think it was after I did the hag area and just before the Goblin Camp where I was like, okay, I get it now. I understand what the game does. I understand how to approach it and have an enjoyable time for myself. Like, you can just play it how you want to play it. Personally, I'm playing as a paladin, like in D&D, so big damage is always fun. And it's like, the party members were kind of annoying at first, but obviously they're designed to grow on you, which they are doing. And I'm looking forward to playing the rest of Act 1 now as well. Like, before it was feeling like a bit of a chore to play because everything was just trying to shit on you the whole time. But now I'm like, no, the game can shit on me and I'll reset because I'm not going to let it shit on me. And then it's just a fun time now. To go through. I mean, there's so many different encounters, so many ways to explore the world. I can see like just how many different options they've thrown in for players to explore when you want to do different runs of the game and stuff, which is really cool. So I will update when I'm at the end of Act 1, but as of right now, it went from being a pretty poor time to a generally good time. So I'm getting into it. So that's one game, and then speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, I've been playing a browser game, which is just a free online browser game on itch called Dragonsweeper. And this game it's incredibly simple, so I'm not going to spend much time on it. But it is literally like a Minesweeper-esque game where there's like, blocks that you clear and mines and stuff like that. But the extra layer is it's like a very vague RPG style. It's really not. It's just maths at the end of the day. It's like Fire Emblem. It's just Excel chess. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is literally, you've got a Minesweeper board, but a lot of the mines, rather than them being mines, it's like monsters that have a different power value. You know, they'll have like a power value of 5 or whatever, and you have a limited number of hearts to deal with them. But if they've got 5 power, so let's say an enemy has 5 power, when you kill them, you lose 5 hearts. And you gain 5 XP, and then you have an XP bar that like you can level up to regain all of your health again. So it's an extra layer of Minesweeper where you're trying to figure out, like, you know, you're trying to clear the board, but you've got to figure out, okay, how much health have I got? What boxes can I afford to click because I don't have all the information? And the goal is to defeat a dragon in the middle of the board once you've leveled up enough times.
Right.
Nowadays, a run of the game takes me about 15 minutes tops to clear the board, but it's never easy. It's always like really thought-provoking, and it's just a fun little one to play casually. It even works on mobile, I think, although you can't mark tiles as easily, I don't think. But it's just a really simple one. Like, you know, you're bored for 15 minutes and want to try something, Dragonsweeper on itch. It is really addicting. I've played it unironically. I think I've been playing it and clearing it like 4 or 5 times a day in the last week. Just because it's so simple to go and do when you've got a couple of spare minutes. So, would recommend.
Yeah. No, I can imagine the appeal. Like, for me, it's like, that kind of game for me is Picross. There's some versions of that on NSO Online.
Picross vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that kind of game. Is just turn your brain off, but sort of focus in and sort of zone out at the same time as you just sort of go through the motions. And
stick some music on and just click away at them and see what happens. Yeah, it's a good time. So definitely one that I'm going to keep playing just casually. And again, it's not even a download. It's just on there as a browser game, which I feel like is rare to come by nowadays. So it's very cool.
Absolutely. I guess I will go on to my next one, which I won't actually go too in depth on because it is AI the Somnium Files. And
of course,
Now, of course, I never talk about spoilers. Well, I rarely talk spoilers on these games, but in this case, I'm going even less details than usual because I know you want to play this game, Kai, and you know absolutely nothing. So
very soon, yes.
I think it's more fun to keep it that you know nothing, so I'm going to talk in very, very vague terms. But I'll talk in more detail when you get around to playing it. We can have a bit more chat then. But it's really fun. It's essentially a mystery visual novel by the creator of Zero Escape. The influence absolutely shows in like the writing style, particularly the humour. I would say this is one of the funniest visual novel games I've played. The writing is very good. The characters are great. It's one of those where like even like a minor character that's barely in it, you immediately feel attached to them or like get the gist of who they are. That kind of style. And the whole cast are fantastic. I think it's one of the strongest casts I've seen. In general, just a really good story, a really good mystery. The way it unfolds, the way things click together, the way that you begin to piece things, it does that very well. And I don't think it has the strongest ending of a game. It's not bad ending by any means. But I feel like the journey there is the more enjoyable aspect of it, I suppose. But it was still satisfying, I think. And gameplay-wise, it's definitely one that's very much visual novel first. You know, 90% of this game is text. And it's voice acted, which is cool. You know, there's a very strong voice cast, a lot of names and voices you'll recognise when you get to it. So they definitely bring it to life. Outside of that, you do get a few small gameplay segments. It's very rare that you do, and when you do, there's a specific gimmick called syncing, which is your main gameplay. And it's a bit weird, I guess. You know, Spike Chunsoft visual novel. We've played Danganronpa. We know how like the mini games are sometimes a bit jank. You know, it's.
But can you spell knife?
Exactly that. There's an element where I like the main gameplay gimmick. I like it conceptually, and I like the atmosphere of it and the vibe of it is very cool, and it's very fitting in terms of the story. But it definitely feels a bit like it's just a bit of an obtuse time waster, because it is timed, and it's it reminds me a bit of, you know how in Danganronpa V3 there's that section where it times you when you interact with things, and
Yes.
and it just feels counteractive to the essence of the game, which is interact with things and explore. This gameplay mechanic has a bit of that, not directly that, but that kind of feel to it, where it feels like it's going against its core mechanic by giving you a bit of a timed feature. And eventually, it doesn't really matter, because eventually you sort of learn that you can very much just restart it. The game's built so you can do that. And then you can sort of mess around with things and then find the optimal way to go through stuff. But I just think it would have been better if the timing option wasn't there, to be honest with you. I feel like there are elements of it where it feels like it's trying for you to treat it like a puzzle game and figure out the right path to take through this little mini game, but there isn't and there are some moments where that works, where it clicks and it feels like a puzzle and it's satisfying to solve. But a lot of the time it just feels like do random stuff until you find what works, and that's fine, but it doesn't fit with that. So it's iffy, but once you learn that it's iffy and you adjust to that and think, okay, I can just restart if I need to, then it's fine, because ultimately, again, it's a small segment of a game which is 90% text. And honestly, like, my only criticism in terms of that is I kind of wish the game did have more aspects where it wasn't a visual novel and it actually allowed you to piece things together rather than just the game doing it through the course of the story. I feel like it could have benefited from having it be more Ace Attorney in a way, of presenting things at certain times and, like, figuring things out that way. I feel like had they gone down that route, it could have been a little bit more immersive in terms of gameplay. But as it is, just going down the ride of this story is still fantastic. It's still crazy and wild, as you'd expect from the creator of Zero Escape, And I really had a fantastic time. You're gonna love it, Kai.
I'm looking forward to it, because it's like I have a absolutely horrible history of spoiling myself on games that I don't know if I'm going to enjoy or not. So I read into them and I'm like vaguely invested. And when you're vaguely invested, you should back out and play it yourself. And I just cannot help but spoil myself. I did it with the entire Danganronpa series. I did it with like all the original Ace Attorney games, except for Spirit of Justice, which I'm still mostly blind on. But I did it with like all of the other 5 original games. I did it on Zero Escape, like all these games that I could have been all over playing properly, and I just kept spoiling myself. So I got, I saw AI Somnium Files. I think I saw it just pop up like a random person playing it, and I went to go click on it, and I was like, no, I'm gonna hold off. I did the same with Nier. I was like, I'm pretty interested in Nier. I'm gonna hold off and play it, and I need to do that more with stuff that comes out, because God, I'm terrible at that.
It's going to pay dividends that you did, Kai, because this is absolutely a game built for, like, the player theory crafting. So, I know what you're like. These are going to be some long-ass streams, because you're going to be pausing the game to, like, draw out the notepad. But,
Oh, I cannot wait to start speculating on an answer that is said on the next text box. It's going to happen every time.
100%. This is absolutely the kind of game that's going to happen in. But, there are still colossal aspects of the game that I have not touched upon here, because I want to see you discover it. Some that you'll even discover, like, very quickly, as in, like, within, an hour of starting the game, you'll begin to realise some things about this game. But I'm looking forward to seeing you figure those out yourself. So, hey, twitch.tv/Fascurreyn, right? Eventually.
Yeah. Literally all I know is, like, I think I saw, like, the vague art style. I don't even remember seeing who the face was. And I think there was, like, someone at a carousel, or maybe it was a park or something.
Interesting.
And like that's all I know. That is literally it. I don't know the premise. I don't know the characters. All I know is that there's like vaguely a carousel or a park or something, and that's it. I don't know what happens there. So yeah, when I play it, of course I'll cover it here. That'll be my next big stream game.
For sure. And like I also mentioned whilst I'm here, like the visual elements of it, as you mentioned, that like the UI is really good, and the way that it's used with the gameplay and with interacting with things is very creative. It's definitely a game that's got a very unique style to it. On the Switch, it's a little blurry at times. I don't know if that translates to you're playing it on Steam, I believe. So it might run a little bit. It's just like background characters are a little pixely, or a little blurry, but it's not a big deal. It's still perfectly playable on Switch, and it might be better on other consoles. But yeah, it's a very fun ride. Again, sticking down that visual novel train. Again, this is also a new one for me, as I've exhausted every Danganronpa game, Ace Attorney game, and nearly every Zero Escape game. But there's 3 of these suckers, so that's another trilogy for me to lose time in.
Indeed, I've already bought the trilogy myself as well. I've gone all in.
Yeah, might as well. I'm excited to see the rest of it at this point. But why don't you end us off, Kai? You had something else to talk about, right?
Well, we need to quickly, and I won't spend too much time on this because I've kind of given a lot of thoughts as we go. Inazuma 11 Victory Road, story mode's done now. I finished it. I've given a lot of thoughts on my stream, so I don't want to spend a massive amount of time doing this, but just what a weird game.
Yeah.
What an incredibly weird game. I'll talk about the things that I found good. There were 3 main things I found really good about the story mode, especially. First was the music. The music was absolutely phenomenal.
For sure.
Every track was a banger, so definitely much appreciated there. Second thing is the special moves. All the new special moves they introduced in the game are really fun and creative, and I like how they were used. I've forgotten what the third thing was. Right, what's the third thing? I can't remember.
That's a good sign.
I'll come back to that. That's probably a good sign. And then the list of complaints is large. I mean, the game is weird. You spend the first, half of the game not actually playing football. At best, you do some bits of training, and even that's not particularly fun. It's just a ton of story, like a slow burn on how this club starts. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that that's what they were going for, as a slow burn on the creation of a new club. But, it's a football game, and you don't even play little bits of football as time goes on. Hardly even casual games. The early stuff is such a slog, because it makes you play, conversation battles, stare battles, noodle battles, anything but football. And it just kind of becomes a farce. And then you get into the actual football, and then it's incredibly rushed. You only play, I think it's 7 matches in the main story against proper teams. In the other games you would play minimum 10, typically a couple more than that. And obviously those games are way shorter, so it was much more concentrated. You do a main story battle every 2 hours if you're playing normally. Whereas this game was just a ton of conversations, comic relief that didn't work. Destin Billows as a psychopath, and most of what he says doesn't make any sense. They were trying to make him an unorthodox manager, which they've done multiple times before, but even still, it was it doesn't work. The side quests, I mean, I did every single side quest in the game. They were all bad. Every single one was what's the point? I'm pretty sure they were made with AI. It was kind of excruciating, because I thought at least a couple would be cool, or at least reference other characters, and they just didn't. They were just bad. None of them related to football even. The very large majority were just I've got my cat. It was this belongs in a Yokai Watch game.
Padding.
Not even that. It was just bad. It was just Life Simulator, but every quest is boring. It was help my cat, buy my dinner. It was go away.
Yeah.
So it was all just, the story was just bad. Even when they started bringing in some of the key players, the Raimon team through the game, and a couple of the other teams you come up against, Royal. I saw what they were going for. I liked the Alice Wonderland stuff they did with Royal. I think the strongest part of the story, apart from the stuff with Briar and Destin at the very beginning, is probably what they did with Harper Evans. Endo, whatever they call him in the Japanese, I can't remember now. But they made him a really interesting character in some of the side cutscenes, where it is he's really, really good, but feels kind of lonely being that good, and doesn't, he isn't connecting with people through football like all the other protagonists in the series have. He's I'm not getting that spark. And I do really appreciate what they did there, at least. but then immediately it's brought down by Cedric's voice actor being like, "Wow," and it's like, all right, back to earth. So it just, I don't know. The story was bad. Obviously, the story doesn't always need to be amazing, but the other games have honestly been fine. Like, obviously, they've not been stellar, but all the Inazuma 11 games have a comprehensive and I think decent stories. They all have their own little plot twists and things that happen. You know, even things like the second game, for example, like, you know, you've got these absurd aliens, but then you get really good character growth through the game that doesn't feel drawn out, and you have plot twists. And this game was just bad. They had the evil manager that ended up not actually doing anything or ever interacting with South Cirrus or the main cast. The gameplay, because I haven't even touched on the gameplay because there's so little actual football in the story. The gameplay's fine. It's really easy, but I enjoy it. Yeah. I'll say, like, you know, I think the gameplay passes, but there's just so incredibly little of it through the main story that it's like, what's the point? I like what they did with the final, the unique gimmick, although I don't think they explored it well enough, I will say. But I do appreciate that they tried it. Is there even anything else? I don't know. I just feel like the side content and the random, pointless, non-football stuff takes up so much of the game that there isn't a whole lot else to comment on. I don't know.
As a whole, it like, there were good ideas, there was potential in there, but from watching your streams, it just reeked of a troubled development, right? Yeah. All aboard. It felt like they didn't know what they wanted to say with the story. They didn't know what they wanted to do with elements of the gameplay outside of the core football itself, in terms of how the story mode functioned with side quests, and they didn't know what they wanted to do with, like, legacy characters or old teams, and it just felt like this mismatch of plots that didn't go anywhere, and it fell apart. Like, again, really strong start, and when I played that demo last year, despite how bizarre it was that there was no football in it, like, the opening story, like, was promising. I played that and was like, I have an interest in this game. I feel like they just need to tidy up some of these aspects, which they didn't, and improve on things later, which they also didn't. So, like, yeah, it's a shame. Like, it's fine, and I think Chronicle Mode, as you'll probably get to later, is, like, the stronger aspect of the game in a lot of ways. But no, they were onto something. I feel like there are the seeds of something good here, but it's just a mess.
Yeah, and I've remembered what the other third good thing about the game was that I didn't mention is the artwork. There's a ton of really good artwork in the game, and then for some reason they only show most of it for like 1 second. Like, they pan to it and then fade out as soon as it fades in. Yeah. And it's like, wow, you've made some really good art, and even the cutscenes are really good. Why are you not doing anything with them? Why is it being wasted on this? Like, Mappa did animation, the illustrators did a really, really good job, and it just felt wasted. Which is a shame, because I wonder how much of the budget went to that, to be honest. There's a lot of cutscenes. But yeah, it is troubled development. This game was in development for the best part of, I think, 9 years, or when they announced it, it's been 9 years since then. And it was clear that, like, they struggled to knuckle down the gameplay, and in the meantime they couldn't figure out what to do with the rest of the game. Yeah. And the gameplay came out fine in the end, in my opinion. I actually think it's the strongest gameplay the series has seen. However, yeah, it's just in its wake. Clearly, the story writers didn't have a clue what to do. It was all over the place. It was boring, and that's where the worry for Layton comes in. But I will say, outside of all of that, I still very much enjoy Inazuma 11, and I don't regret playing it by any means. It's just not one that I can recommend to others. As a super fan myself, it's fine though. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. There's more to the game, and look, if you're into, like, the online aspects, maybe there's value there as well, because, you know, that is a part of the game. Again, the core gameplay is solid, and there's always the hope that now that they've actually figured out the core gameplay and that works, maybe they can make something good for another one. But at this point, again, level 5 isn't in the best place to be optimistic about that, but it would be nice. No, agreed. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they said they're going to make a sequel, and it's like, Jesus, really? So we'll see. Maybe not.
We'll see. Maybe we'll get Inazuma 11 Willy Rising, you know? Finally time to shine. But until then, that is it for this month's podcast. Thank you for watching. Of course, you can find us here on BunchaJokahs on YouTube, under the name BunchaJokahs, or on Spotify and other podcasting sites for audio-only versions of the podcasts. On the YouTube channel, we also have direct reactions, if they do one, and the odd gameplay video as well. And in the meantime, where else can people find yourself at, Kai?
Twitch.tv/Fascurreyn. A little bit of Tomodachi Life, and hopefully starting AI Somnium Files soon.
For sure. And for myself, you can find me doing the occasional stream on twitch.tv/TheChosenOneLegend. There will be links to both of those in the description below, as well as to our friend Samm, our graphic designer, who made the channel logo. And that's about it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.